Yildirim Turkilga katta rahmatlar aytamiz. Juda mazmunli prezentatsiya uchun va keyingi prezentatorimizga so'zni beramiz. Demak, Murod Xoksor rekonstruksiya ishlari haqida sizlarga ma'lumot beradilar. Marhamat.
Hello, colleagues. My name is Murat Hoşkar. I am the procurement expert in the project. Before I start my presentation, I would like to have a couple words addressed to the audience. The reason we are organizing this event is actually informing you about what you will be facing in CEBU tenders, as well as creating a networking environment here, because in our project we expect energy auditors, designers, and construction companies work together in coherence in order to create good results. So I would like to ask the audience, can you please raise your hand if you represent a construction company? Keep your hands raised, please. Okay, so what about designer or designer companies, design institutions? Okay, thank you. Do we have any energy audit companies here, or somebody working in energy sector? Okay, perfect, nice to hear. So this presentation is going to be about construction part. So construction companies are going to be the ones who will benefit most out of this. And before I start, if you have anything unclear, we have a discussion session after the lunch. But in coffee breaks, please find us, ask your questions. Please don't hesitate, because we would like to provoke you to ask your questions. We will be happy to provide you answers as detailed as possible, because as I said, what we want is having a successful implementation in our project, and you will be the main actors for it. So please have a proactive approach during this event and get the most out of it. So in our project, our aim is to have rehabilitation in the buildings and make them energy efficient, or in other words, we want these buildings to consume less energy as much as possible. So for this purpose, what we can do is we can decrease the energy consumption of the working equipment within the building, or we can reinforce the building so that it has less energy need, or we use the renewables, which is like a free energy resource. So within our scope, we have 3 buildings all over Uzbekistan, which are schools, kindergartens, and hospitals. And within these buildings, we have some mandatory works to be done and some optional ones, as well as we have energy efficiency related works and non-energy efficiency related works within our scope. So I will briefly explain you first the mandatory ones, because these are going to be applied in every building within the scope of CEBU project. So first one is insulation of walls. When we insulate the walls, the building is having better performance of keeping the heat inside. So this is number one. Secondly, we have the roof insulation, because heated air mass elevates, and most of the elevated air mass goes out from the roof. So we should also insulate the roof. Third one is boiler replacement, because they are the biggest energy consumers in the building. So more efficient boilers will lead to less energy savings. And lastly, as a renewable energy source, we install photovoltaic PV panels. So starting with the insulation, I think all the construction companies here know what is insulation. I'm not here to teach or direct you about what has to be done within the project. I'm just willing to give some tips, or trying to have you a better understanding of what we expect from implementation part. So in insulation, you know how it works. There is the wall of the building, and then there is an insulation part, and then we cover it like beautifully with like plastering and paint. So in the buildings we have visited, we mostly see brick walls, and they are pretty thick. We see either like a double layer or like two double layers of brick walls with an air gap in between, which is also used as insulant. But since these buildings are old and deteriorated within the time, this air gap between the brick layers are like not like totally insulated. So like either hot or cold air goes inside this air gap, and it's not like perfectly working, let's say. So in insulation, think of right-hand side as the like external part of the building and left-hand side as the internal part. We prefer to have insulation from the external side of the walls because it's easier to do, easier to work on, and like you can create good like visuals, aesthetic for the building after doing the insulation. Considering that our buildings are like relatively old buildings, like visual update would look very good and create visibility for the works you are doing within the project. But this is not the only way. You can prefer to have like internal insulation, but in this case, you should think about how you're going to work within the building, because the buildings are going to be fully functioning. Like users of the building are going to be inside and using the building. And think of that, you will be, like users of the building are going to be like students or like the kindergarten students, basically children, or patients in the hospital, like doctors, health workers, or like patient relatives. So we can easily consider them as like vulnerable group of people. So when you're working, like our environmental expert will explain this in more detail, but when you're working within the building, you have to be extra careful about what you are doing. And additionally, when you are doing the insulation, you have to consider the like the transpiration inside the space. So if you insulate it very well inside, the building can start like bleeding, like sweating, and also CO2 levels can easily increase. So this is something you should keep an eye on. As I said, secondly, we are going to insulate the roof structure, because I can say almost in all of the buildings we have visited, the roof structure is not insulated, or it had been insulated, but within the time, by the lack of maintenance, the insulation is there, but not really performing. So for this purpose, insulating the roof structure is mandatory. And as you see in the visual, we have a couple layers. Not in every roof we have all of these layers, but most of them. So as you see, we have some like principal layers here. Like we have a vapor barrier, we have a insulation like layer, and we have a wind barrier. And on the rooftop, we are actually preventing water to come in. So in our project, as I said previously, for insulation of the walls, we have to consider the transpiration within the building. So if you have like a non-breathing roof structure, like a solid concrete structure, it's going to keep moisture inside, and moisture is going to kill the structure slowly, especially the wooden parts. So when you are going to work on the roof structure, you have to consider a few things, like the wood you're using should be resistant to water, or maybe they can be dipped into some chemicals to provide like being waterproof. You have to have a vapor barrier. Also, it's another solution. Vapor barrier would keep the roof structure dry enough and save it from further deteriorations. And the wind barrier, it's not the like top priority, I would say, in most of the buildings we have visited in Uzbekistan, but in the areas where the wind is blowing pretty strong, a wind barrier would be a good idea to increase the comfort standard of the building. It is not going to work in energy efficiency terms, So, but it is a non-energy efficiency measure, so we should also consider this when you are going to like prepare your proposal or like implement the project. I would like to ask one more question, not regarding the presentation. I forgot to ask, sorry. Do we have anybody here who are actually working on our tenders, preparing tender, ask for the document? Can you please also raise your hand? Because you are going to be the ones who get the most out of this event. Okay. So this event is basically for you. When insulating the roof structure, we have a few options. It would depend on the roof structure we have within the buildings. So first one is like using mineral wool, like rock wool, basalt wool, however you prefer. It will like be your choice. So this is the one that you can apply easiest. But as I said, it depends on the current situation of the roof structure, because not everywhere we have the height of a person where you can go inside easily and work, because in some schools the height is like maybe like 60, 80 centimeters. So it is not really easy to work on. But this is the good option, because in this option you insulate the roof structure from the top. But also consider in Uzbekistan, in most of the public buildings, between the roof and the roof slab, there is usually a gap like 60 to 80 centimeters, which takes air inside in order to prevent transpiration, as I said. So in this case, insulating the roof from the top, from the roof structure, might not be the best option. So second option is using polyurethane foam, which is very easy to apply. You don't need to like install anything. Like adequate workmanship is like easy. You basically use a foam thrower, and you can implement this anywhere. It fills any gap, it expands, so it is good. This is our second option. And third option is like insulating the last slab of the building. You can put again like mineral wools, like rock wool, basalt wool, glass wool, as you prefer, and insulate the last slab. So you protect the last, the final slab of the building from the water, because you have the roof structure on the top of it, and you can have the insulation above the slab. So it's going to insulate the building envelope, and you will be able to keep the heated air mass inside the building. And also, like the good side of the mineral wool is it is a breathing material, so it will allow you to take fresh air inside and like how to say, like use like CO2 concentrated air outside. So it is a good option as well. The third thing is, as I said, is boiler replacement. Mostly in the schools, these are the boilers we see. They are pretty old. They are atmospheric boilers, and basically they burn whatever you put inside. And think about the efficiency of it. How efficient can a boiler be if it burns everything? So on the left-hand side, you see it used to be a coal burner, and then they converted it into a natural gas boiler. So if we put like wood inside, it's going to burn it, paper it would burn, whatever we put inside, it's going to burn, which means this is inefficient. In our tenders, I will explain in the session after the lunch, we expect, as I said, efficiency, and we have some like preconditions like maximum years of return, internal year of return, payback period. So boilers are the most important actors in our project in terms of efficiency, because their payback period is short. They are relatively cheap compared to other items like insulation of all walls or the roof. So boilers are very important. And these boilers have to change. While changing these boilers, we can think of it like this. They are very inefficient. If you can burn the fuel, doesn't matter if it's gas or like coal, whatever, or, I mean, we don't support the coal, but like natural gas, like or like any liquid fuel, or if you're using electricity to like keep the boiler running, it is still more efficient. So we advise you to replace all these boilers with the modern technology. For example, this is a wall-type condensing boiler working with natural gas, so it will increase your efficiency a lot. So again, once more, I would like to underline that the boiler is the most important actor in public buildings in terms of energy efficiency. And lastly, we have photovoltaic panels. So when we say PV panel, or like in Uzbek kuyosh panel, first thing comes to our mind is like putting the panels on the rooftop. So this is the most common practice. When you go out, like even when you, like in the coffee break, when you go out, you will be able to see some PV panels all around. But this is not the only way to apply it, because what we see this most often, it doesn't mean it's the only way or like most practical way. I will show you some examples. So another way to apply PV panels is putting them on the car parking canopies. So it works for like two purposes. It creates shade for the cars, and it also generates energy. But in order to do this, you have to make sure that there are no trees around higher than the canopy, so it's not blocking the PV panels. And the reason I'm showing you other appliances of PV panels is because most of the buildings we are visiting, they are like 2-3 story buildings. I don't mean the hospitals. Hospitals are big, but schools and kindergartens are like mostly 2-story, maximum 3-story buildings. And there are trees around them which are higher than the building level. So the trees are sometimes blocking the roof of the building. So it would decrease your potential of having the renewable energy from the solar panels. So car parking canopies is one option. And the other option, if possible, is putting the like ground mounted PV panels if there is like enough and adequate place, like usable place within the campus of the building. You can reserve an area, you can put your PV panels there, and it has some benefits. Like when you put the PV panels on the rooftop, somebody have to go up there and clean them by the time. In Tashkent, like there is the issue of air quality. I think everybody knows about it. The hanging material in the air is like pretty much in Tashkent. It is decreasing the efficiency of the PV panel in two aspects. First one is sun arrays are, when they're coming to the PV panel, they are partially blocked because of the hanging materials in the air. And secondly, these hanging materials, within the time it goes down on the PV panels, so it is decreasing the area where the sun arrays can reach it and generate energy. So this is the easiest way to clean it, because it's on the ground, you can easily clean it. But when it is on the rooftop or in the car parking canopy, it is not very easy to clean, because you have to take extra measures for like safety, or maybe you can use robots, but it would also bring you extra costs. And as I said, we have some optional measures. When you are like, I will explain this from like two aspects. When you are going to prepare your proposals, you will propose your own energy efficiency measures. You will design them. Within the bidding documents, we are giving you an exemplary table, as like my team leader showed in the previous presentation. You can like apply these, you can follow this table, or you can create your own, because later on after the lunch I will explain again, in our project it's not going to be the cheapest bid winning the project, it's going to be the best engineering proposal who would win. So basically you can bid more expensive than anybody else, but have a better engineering design and still win the tender. We try to create the best value for money. So when creating your own energy efficiency measures, you can consider optional items as well. For instance, in the buildings we have visited, the radiators are pretty old. So you can think of replacing the radiators with the more efficient ones. I don't prefer to say like the most technological, like brand new ones, but more efficient ones, in order to increase efficiency and have more savings, and also to increase the comfort standards. You can, like, if there is an HVAC system, mostly this is applicable for hospitals, you can either like prefer to install HVAC system, or you can prefer to renovate the HVAC system with more efficient equipment, brand new, like new technology equipment. So it will also bring you efficiency, more savings. But on the other hand, there is always the cost as a parameter. So you will be balancing these two and optimize in order to have the best result. And another option, which is also like very much preferred recently, putting photovoltaic panels on the rooftop or like in the car park canopy, however you prefer it, and having heat pumps and feeding the heat pumps through the electricity generated by the solar panels. This is like two expensive items. It looks like this, but when you do the math, you will see it is generating a lot of efficiency, or let's say it's decreasing the energy consumption a lot. And meanwhile, like having a payback period of not so long years as much as insulation of the walls, for example. You can also apply solar water heating, which is like pretty much preferred in Uzbekistan. In most of the rooftops you see this solar water heating. This is not mandatory, this is optional, so it would decrease the energy consumption on like domestic hot water systems within the buildings. And lastly, not really having so much effect on the energy consumption of the building, but on the comfort levels, you can use LED lighting to have some saving and increase the comfort measures of the building. So, as I said, like I mostly spoke about energy efficiency related items within the project because these are directly affecting the consumption of the buildings. But there are also some other works which are required or sometimes preferred, like non-energy efficiency items that have to be done or that should be done, let's say, within our project, which are like, let's say you're working on a floor is in a really bad condition. You should somehow like replace the floor coating, or at least not replace, but rectify the damages. Or let's say you're working in a school, let's say. Sometimes we see the roof structure is not like perfectly covered. We see sometimes some holes on it. Or when you are installing PV panels, you can also like accidentally create some holes, like some gaps on the roof structure. So you also have to rectify these damages, because otherwise it has no meaning. It's not usable if there's a big hole on the rooftop but PV panels on the top of it. For the insulation of the walls, you will install like the insulation material, and then you have to, as I said, cover it. So it requires plastering and paint, which I said before, it also creates a good visibility for the building you're working on. And also architecturally, you can prefer to change the color of the paint in the internal area in order to use the natural sunlight more efficiently. You can think of it like having like black paint inside the place, or having a white or like yellow color, light color paint inside the spaces. So about the building envelope damages, I already mentioned the roof. But when you are going to work within the buildings, for example, let's say you're going to replace the windows, you will remove the windows, you will give it to beneficiaries, school management, and then you will put the new windows, and then you will make sure that there are no gaps between the wall and windows. You will like put it there, make the workmanship. But while doing this, mostly while you're removing the windows, or while you are, let's say, removing the boilers, probably you're going to cause some damage, because without causing any damage, it's almost impossible to remove these components from the building. So you also have to rectify the damages you have caused within the replacement of items, or let's say in broader scope within the implementation of the project. Also, like, I would give some extra examples as well. In the schools, you will see there are sports halls. So you will see they're like poorly conditioned. Like the ground of the, like there's like a basketball court, but even the lines of the court are not visible. So you will be asked to rectify these kind of damages, which is like not like big like monetary items in the budget, very small, but creates amazing visibility after your implementation. So this is going to be basically on your benefit, more on the like improving the brand value of your company or joint venture undertaking the implementation. So now I will give you some before and after examples. These pictures are taken from the projects, like from the other countries, not Uzbekistan, but here it is going to be more or less the same. So you see on the left hand side, before the renovation, the windows are like very big. We also have it in our project. The paint outside is not really good, so the school doesn't have like good aesthetic. So after the renovation, like we can discuss the colors here. You may not like it, but it looks better. It looks like new, and we also know that there is insulation in this in the facade of the building. So we spoke about solar panels applications. In this building, even though they have space on the rooftop, they did not prefer to put PV panels on the rooftop because it makes more sense to put it in the car parking area as a canopy. As I said, because it's easier to clean them. When there's a problem, you can quickly interfere and fix it. And it creates also like shadow area for the cars, which is good in the summers. Considering the temperatures in Uzbekistan during summer, this can be a good idea for implementation. So again, here the next one is from this is from a school, actually a high school, where they like not only worked in the facade of the building, but they also optimized the sunlight potential of the building. So on the left-hand side, like in before and after, you see that like it's basically painted in a different colors. And there is insulation, obviously. This is from Turkey. In the buildings in Turkey, we usually have insulation, but in this project, they also changed the insulation, put a more efficient one, to prevent also transpiration within the building, because it's basically students in there, and their like healthcare can easily become a problem. And you know, when in schools, when only one student is sick, like next day 10 of them is sick, the next day all school is sick. So to prevent this, you have to work on comfort measures as well. So on the left hand side, it is basically like building envelope renovation, but on the right hand side, you see they replaced the old windows. And also, I will show you like later on, there is another picture about this building. On the top of the windows, you see a line of windows continuously, which is used for taking the sunlight, the natural light inside the classrooms. So they also optimized them. Not every window here is like a clear window. Some of them are like glazed windows. So it doesn't take the light inside directly, but reducing the brightness, so it's optimizing the natural light performance within interior areas in classrooms. And you also maybe realize one thing. What I mentioned previously, here they have trees, like even though building is pretty long, you see there are like trees around. So in this building, they didn't put PV panels on the rooftop because of the trees, which is, I mean, not really visible here, but they preferred to put PV panels in some separate area, and they had to relocate some trees in order to increase the performance of the panels. Technical areas, like technical volumes of the buildings, are usually not visible to the users. Only technical stuff goes in there, so usually they are not in good condition because they are not visible. And when they are not in good condition, when they lack maintenance, their lifespan is decreased significantly. So here in the pictures you see how it looks before the renovation. They are corroded. There are no coatings around the pipes. The boilers are in bad condition. Like you see, it's a very dirty area. Even after the renovation, like the picture on the left bottom side, the you see the rust on the ground. They couldn't remove it. But after the renovation of the technical areas, this piping, equipment, and everything else, it is easier to conduct maintenance and also easier to see what is the equipment is working for, which pipe has hot water, which pipe has cold water, where is it going, where is it coming from. There are some safety valves, some electronic automation equipment which makes it easier to use. Also, it gives an opportunity to exactly measure the energy consumption, water consumption of the building, so the building also starts to create data. And on the right bottom side, you see an old boiler, which is not so old actually, is replaced by wall-type condensing boilers, which are way more effective, which is also what we suggest in our project. We also provide this in our proposed EAM tables. So that's another facade renovation. Here it's basically putting insulation, putting new plaster and paint. In this building, they prefer the paint which can clean itself. On the left hand side, you see it's yellow, it's deteriorated, and when it rains, you know, from the roof structure, sometimes the water leaks, not always goes through the waterways, but leaks from somewhere, it goes on the facade and leaves a mark. In this building, they prefer the paint which cleans itself. So no matter if there is water leaked or if there is rain all the time, it's going to look perfectly clean, like new all the time. They did it because this is the building of governorship in a city in Turkey. So about the solar panels again, this is a hospital building and it has huge rooftop empty. There is nothing. You see, there is not even equipment for cooling systems. So they use this area with PV panels, which is also easy to do maintenance and clean them because the roof is flat. This is from Antalya, from Turkey, so it rarely snows there. When it snows, it's like an event in the city. So they don't build roofs with a truss. Instead, they build flat rooms. So it's also an easy example to put PV panels on a flat roof, easy to do maintenance, easy to clean. So that's another idea for you. So lastly, about the lighting. On the left-hand side, you see fluorescent bulbs. This is from a hospital. And when you look at the inside of the buildings, even though there are some lights, not all of them are working, which you may face within CEBU buildings also. And also, they are not really illuminating the place equally. Some parts are really dark. If you check the doors, if you look at the doors here on the left-hand side, it is pretty dark. So when they replace it with LED lights and do the illumination, automation or optimization, let's say, it is perfectly lighted. They put sunlight colors in the light, so it feels better. It increases the comfort standards. And considering this is a hospital, that is a very good solution in terms of lighting. Also, it provides not big, but a small percentage of saving. So this is the end of my presentation. Now we are going to have a coffee break. So here we have like construction companies, design institutions companies, and audit companies. I would like to kindly suggest you to meet each other in the coffee break, because you will be the ones who will be doing these kind of renovations in our project. And if you have any questions, please catch us outside, any of us. Please don't hesitate to ask. We will be really happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Murat Xoksor